see you've found our little hiding spot in the universe. Don't get too comfortable. This is a place where you will find those with an experience that's out of this world, or possibly deep within your life. I welcome you to the Oracles with James Tyson. Lean forward and listen. We will pull you into a supernatural journey with guests from around the world, each one experiencing some of the most extraordinary phenomena this wee planet has to offer. Now, here are the Oracles with James Tyson.
Thank you, Liam, and thank you, listener, for tuning in to today's episode of the Oracles with James Tyson. That was me trying to be spooky, but I know it doesn't really work that way. Today I want to introduce you to a really good friend of mine from Melbourne, Australia. It's Solreta, Antaria. She's an internationally renowned psychic clairvoyant, and from a young age, she has long been aware of other dimensional realities and is also an ET UFO experiencer, and best known as actually an ET communicator, but that's not really what we're going to be talking about today. She has, over her career as a psychic, helped hundreds of people around the world connect with their ETs and interdimensional guides, and therefore assist them on their own missions here on Earth. She shines light, clarity, and brings a sense of comfort, confirmation, and a renewed enthusiasm on their clients' or her clients' soul paths. She studied kinesiology, hypnotherapy, shamanic studies, and she holds an advanced diploma in health science. Currently living in Melbourne, Australia with her kids. She works as an author, spiritual mentor, teacher, and she's a host of her own YouTube channel. And we'll talk a little bit about that. What we do talk about in this episode, we kind of veer off, hey, how come you're a psychic? When were you first a psychic? And we're going to leave the ET stuff on the side burner for today, but we will have Solreta back and discuss that in a little more detail. But we're going to talk about what's been going on globally right now with the global pandemic and how her business or her work with doing readings for people has changed to kind of navigate what's going on globally. Of course, she doesn't see people face to face anymore, so she's doing this most over the internet or over the phone. And I asked her a little bit about what types of questions people are coming to her with, and if she could get a sense of what people's anxieties are. No, we're not going to get into an individual's private reading or anything like that, but just we talk about, in the greater sense, how things are going. We kind of discuss her Facebook page. She's connected to one on Facebook. It's called Spiritual Events Directory. It's an Australian group with about 81,000 people on it. And if you want to know a little bit more about Solreta Antaria and you're on Facebook, zip over to Spiritual Events Directory and you'll see a lot of the work that she does is posted on there. And she's also a part of a lot of events that happen on Facebook. And of course, it's Melbourne, Australia time, Australian Eastern Standard Time in Melbourne. So when it's 6 p.m. till 7 p.m. in Melbourne, that's on a Thursday, that's about 1 o'clock in the morning on or is it 1 or is it 4 o'clock? It's 4 o'clock in the morning for somebody in New York the day before, because Solreta does live in the future. And she is my go-to person. If something's going to happen to the Earth, at least she gives me a 24-hour heads up that it blew up or something. We talk a lot about her abilities and her feelings around what's going on with COVID-19. We also discuss the relationships because of the Venus retrograde that we're all been going through, and talking about maybe not making any rash decisions or changes in relationships. We also talk about I kind of go off on tangents because, it's me, and it is Solreta, and we often in a conversation will hit 20 or 30 different subjects. So we do talk about a number of things, from Facebook, quote unquote, friends to energies and giving somebody too much of our own time, or feeding into something. Somebody may say something, especially in social media. Somebody says something, and you take it to heart, and you kind of carry that around with you. And it's just reminding us it's not our energy. Those are things we just should let go. We really should let them go. And I'm working on that. Because we had talked about the incident that I had in the last little while, so it's kind of funny to look back on. But those are the things we're going to be discussing. We are going to be talking, obviously, psychic mediumship and the connection to the earth and what's happening to the earth. And maybe some of the things that is the good that's coming out of COVID-19. I see it a little more positive than Solreta does. We both see it the same way, but from different angles and our own belief systems. So it's an interesting conversation. I'm going to go get her and bring her in now. Solreta, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, James.
It has been a long time since you have been bouncing around here with me, and it's been really nice talking to you off air. And now that we're back on air, again, really nice for you to drop by. And I want to thank you a lot for spending the future with me, because it is the future where you are and it's the past where I am for you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always such a joy, and I love our chats on and off air. It's always something that I really look forward to, and it's something that I'd love to do more often too.
Okay, we're going to do that. And for my listener who is a Patreon person, who is one of my subscribers for the $3 a month, getting your name into the draw every month for a psychic reading, Solreta has offered to do one. So that is really cool. So the readings that I'll be drawing for coming up on the 16th of May, whoever gets a psychic reading will get one from Solreta, Antaria. And I really appreciate it. Thank you very much on behalf of my listener. We do appreciate that volunteering of helping somebody through and providing that medium for them to communicate.
I'm really excited too. You have beautiful listeners, so I'm looking forward to connecting and reading for someone.
I was curious. We had talked a little bit about, you have a Facebook page. You're on a Facebook page called Spiritual Events Directory. What is that?
So it's an online, psychic directory, and it's also Australia's largest, spiritual events directory. So I'm doing a show Thursday nights on there between 6 till 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, which I think you and I were working out was like 4 p.m.
4 a.m.
4 a.m. in Ontario.
New York. Yeah, in Ontario, New York. Eastern Time is, 4 a.m. But on the best part about that, they are replayed too. So they're all, you can.
So it'll be starts with a half-hour collective reading for that week for everyone tuning in. That includes people sort of during the replay. And then in the second half hour of the show is answering personal questions. So people will just type their questions in to the live video chat.
Oh, that's good though. That's actually pretty. I guess would any of the Australians really mind if somebody from another part of the planet sends a text in?
People from all over the world.
Well, it's good. It's I love the internet for that, especially Facebook, where you get out there and you've got all these people that you can connect with. And I've always found it too for psychic readings. It's not really, gee, I think I never had a psychic reading before. Maybe I'll do it. If it's not meant for you to have a reading at that specific time, you won't be wide awake at 4 a.m, or you will not have that question ready to go. It's all in the plan. Let's say. Yeah, you'd be brought to
anyone who is connecting in, please tell me where you're from as well, because I do love answering international questions as well.
Oh, that'd be great. But 4 a.m. for, let's see, somebody in New York is still 1 o'clock in the morning for me. I might be able to do that. Here on the West Coast, Pacific Coast of North America, that's about 1 a.m. for us. So we don't have to stay up that late to get a hold of Solreta and the Spiritual Events Directory in Facebook and throw a question in. Again, that's Thursday nights in Australia, which is Wednesday morning in North America. Remember that Solreta is coming to us from the future. Mm-hmm. You also have one of the things I was interested in. Now, people want to play along at home. Solreta SolretaPsychicReadings.com. Now, Solreta is spelled Solreta. Soul, like Soul Rita, psychicreadings.com. Go to your website. You have a number of things that you actually provide people with too on there. You have meditations. You also were telling me about this Insight Timer app.
Yeah, so Insight Timer is one of the best meditation apps. You can even go in and pick like whether you want to do a 5-minute meditation, 15. You can choose your topic that you want guidance on, or say if it's like matters of the heart, you can type that in and it will give you a few meditations to choose from, if not thousands of meditations to choose from, topic to topic, or if you're focused on healing. So 2 of the meditations I have on there, one is Soul Star, which is like connecting to like your off-world planetary plates and connecting with your soul missions. And probably my most popular meditation on there is Mermaids in Atlantis. So it's really taking you on that underwater journey for healing and going and being in sort of like a crystal room where the mermaids work at healing. So it's a beautiful visual one. And I've had a lot of beautiful feedback from both those meditations on that app.
Okay, and for those wondering how you do that, while Solreta was just explaining it, I just downloaded the app.
Oh,
so
cool.
That's how quick it was. Insight Timer meditation, and it's got all the different choices are like meditate for anxiety, stress, sleep, advanced, for the advanced, mindfulness at work, self-esteem, mornings, and what have you. And there's a lot of information. Russell Brand is on there too.
Yeah.
And you. Look at you.
Yes.
You're there with Russell Brand. That's kind of cool. There's a number of I was flipping through here. These are very, very, you're in really good company when it comes to meditations.
I feel quite lucky to be accepted as a teacher on there. It was, that was something that I'd wanted to do for a while, and it's a little bit of a process that you have to go through. So I'm really grateful to be able to offer my meditations on that platform. Oh,
it's beautiful. You're also on Spotify.
I am.
That's good. I'm on Spotify too. We could be Spotify twins. Except you do a little bit more than I do. I just post my podcasts. You actually help people. Which hopefully I can help people too, but you do it in a much more direct way of dealing with things. We've talked before. You've been on before. We talk about your history, you growing up as an intuitive. A lot of times we talk about your connection with extraterrestrials, being able to stand literally on a beach somewhere and shut your eyes and all of a sudden UFOs show up, which I find is awkward. But, it's if you can talk to them, fine. But, if for people out there who've always wanted to see a UFO, go hang out with Solreta. She'll get them to come actually in and talk to you, or not talk to you, but buzz around you, which still freaks me out. But we're not going to be talking about that today. Hopefully not. It depends how this conversation goes. You have been doing readings. You've been doing them for a long time, obviously in person. You do aura drawings, psychic readings. You have you do kinesiology. You communicate with ETs, interdimensional guides, all sorts of things. Hypnotherapy. You've been doing this in person with people up until COVID-19. And now you've had to change the way you kind of tweak your modalities, and you're doing all of your work online. How has that changed since the COVID-19? Now, I know you've always done readings online, and you can do it. Obviously, you can do it. But has something in you, have you found or felt something in you kind of ramp up a little bit where you're being able to connect a lot quicker?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that it's, like a baseball game. I guess the image that I get is like stepping up to the plate. And I feel like that it's a calling, with my other physical job being closed down to do with quarantine and things, because I was also, working part-time as a beauty therapist. specializing in advanced skincare. And that, having that closed down has really allowed me to be able to focus on my sole purpose of, doing the readings and dedicating my time to doing these, these beautiful talk shows, and to really start my own show and things too. It's just, for me, it's personally been a blessing, and to spend more time with my kids, having them at home, it's wonderful to have that time together.
So far. And then you get to a point where it's been almost 12 weeks now, and I really would like to get them out of the house.
I bring them home yesterday and say, when are they going back?
If I stop feeding them, maybe they'll leave. I understand that a lot of people who have done psychic readings via the phone and in person and travel around doing this, they've really kind of taken a step back, dug themselves into where they are, and have tweaked that side of them, and opened a couple of new doors up. I think I'll do all my readings over Skype or over the phone or Zoom or whatever method they've chosen. And all of them have said it's like they've had a dial turned up.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it. It feels like a little bit of an upgrade, and kind of like a clear channeled focus for me, working clairvoyantly, because that would be my strongest sense, as well as like empathy, kind of like kinesthetic sensing. It's almost like having like a tunnel vision when it comes to really connecting with a client. And it's as strong as it is in person. A lot of people ask me or say, I want to come and book a reading with you, but I want to wait till I get to Australia, or I want to wait till I'm in your city. But really, it is just as strong as you and I have found, connecting this way. We've never actually met in person, but it hasn't put a hindrance on us getting to know each other. And I just find that that's the same when it comes to readings. Energy is energy. You can feel it without the boundaries of space and time.
Do you find that when you are doing readings, it's easier not to look at the person?
I think because I'm so visual, I do love to look at the person, and I love to see them smile and just sort of tune into their energy that way. And also I have had it in the past, because we are on the other side of the world, where sometimes, Skype or Zoom will let you down and the picture will go. And I've had where it's, just a black screen, and I have to tune into that person and read the energy. And sometimes if that other person is visual, we will reschedule. And this has only happened maybe like twice. Usually we do have quite a good connection. But it hasn't made a difference to the reading at all, because even tuning into the name frequency and saying their name, or connecting in with that energy of the name, we're able to kind of like connect in like Skype, and it's like a locked frequency signal that I'm reading. So that really, it doesn't create hindrance. And I've also, with training myself, tapped into photos and into just minimal amounts of information. That's all you really need to pick up on, someone on a soul level.
Oh, okay. A friend of mine, Joanna, who does it, she's stopped doing the Skype where she looks at people, because for her, she'll say something, and if the person's eyebrow raises or their lip kind of quivers, she second guesses herself.
Oh, okay.
And it's not like she's wrong. It's just that she's thinking, what did I do? Say something wrong? So she's all of a sudden taken out of the moment. And she leaves the reading in her own mind and thinks, that was an interesting reaction when I told this person that they were going to get some flowers tomorrow. And so she's walked away from it. Other people are like you. They want to be able to look at the person. And a lot of clients too want to be able to look at you as they're getting the reading.
Definitely. And that's what I find is the feedback with my clients, that, they do love for us to see each other face to face. And I think that there's a really unusual bubble that I'm in when I'm reading and when I'm doing the aura drawings. I always say to my clients, please excuse any misspelling, when I'm doing the aura drawings and I'm writing, like little notes that the guides are getting me to write, whether it's like a main feature or a point that they really want my client to look into later, or whether it's a flower essence or something to delve deeper into. My brain is not like in the logic spirit, or I feel like I'm often sitting in another dimension and I'm channeling that information and energy through this human body computer. It's like my brain is not within the capabilities of English, if that makes sense. I really feel like frequency is another language.
Oh yeah, it is very, very different. When I do readings over the phone, I'll pull cards and I'm focused. Basically, I have the person, like you do, say their name, and I say their name. I take my breaths, and in my head, and a lot of times I tell the client, or the client, it sounds like I actually get paid for this, but I don't. I tell the person that what I'm asking for is a guide to step forward to bring me only what is for your highest good at this time. And that's the quick way of doing it. But in my head, I've kind of go through that process, and I'll say maybe a couple of times, and I'll call my guide, my primary guide, Matthew is the name I give him, even though he doesn't have a name. And then I'll pull the cards. And as I flip the cards over, my cards are a fractal images, so there's no picture. It's just a bunch of blurred colors. And I find that works better for me because I am too visual. I have Archangel Michael cards that have an angel on them, and Archangel Michael in various positions and holding lambs and swords and hearts and flowers and whatever. And as soon as I flip one of those over, that's what I'm looking at. And there's a prayer or there's something on the bottom of them. So then I focus on that. But I found with the fractals, I flip those over and I said, oh, okay, this is what I'm getting. Does this resonate with you? And I'll just go through the cards and we'll do it. But I can't really. Well, I don't really have the mechanism. I could, I guess, do it all on Skype and look at them. But I'm fine. I'm just better just doing it like that. If I'm standing in front of somebody, that's a whole other type of reading. I call it a stand-up reading, where one of their a relative will step through, or kind of the in between their spirit guides and them will step through on their left side, on my right, and start giving me hand signals, which is interesting. And that's developed into a whole bunch of other things, but it's not about me today. It's about you. But I'm always curious on the way other people do readings, and somebody who's been doing them as long as you have. Yeah. It's fascinating how things have changed over time. And thank goodness you haven't died like Skeeter and Marianne Morgan, who every time they have that a bit of a kick up and ascension in their readings, they've died. And then they get better. And next thing you know, they're now being able to look around corners and through walls and talk to aliens and stuff. And it's really, they become more advanced in their intuitiveness, I guess, and get going. But yeah, I'm glad you haven't died yet. That your ascensions are like this. But this COVID thing has really kind of threw a monkey wrench into things. But being that you can't kind of see them face to face, you've had to develop another. It kind of puts one set of your modalities on hold or lessens them, which creates a need to increase the skill set in some of these other ones. Are you finding what are the things you're finding what are the things you're finding are new to you, and how have they been incorporated into your readings?
Yeah, so I think it's super interesting listening to the way that you do readings as well. I always love learning from other psychics and find it fascinating just how differently we tune in and connect with energy. So for me, when I read cards, I never actually look at the picture on the card. So my guides will get me to hover my hand and use psychometry to tune into the frequency of the card. And when the guides are like, all right, that's enough, because it's they'll talk about a card for quite a while, and then they'll talk about the colors on the card, the images, and the energy, basically in tune with the connection or in tune with the person or skill of what we're tapping into. And then they'll say, flip the card. And what happens 98.9% of the time is that the energy and the picture on the card is exactly what the guides have spoken about. And so the guides always sort of will have a little bit of a giggle, because they see the cards as kind of like a validation for human consciousness. So it's like they can talk till they're blue in the face, but unless we kind of see the reference of that card is the same as what they've said beforehand, it's like it teaches our human conscious to pay more attention to the words that were spoken. So I find that for me is, I don't know, I love that style because it brings me to laughter when I flip it, and it's exactly what we've spoken about. And those probably like around 2% of the time where it is different to the energy on the card will be speaking about what we need to do to take the next step, I guess, in line with that question that was asked, or it will give us something else to work on, or we'll be talking about that we can't really move on from this energy at the moment. There's more to be gained from understanding that. And so it will get us to expand or pick more cards around it. But yeah, with the whole COVID thing, what I'm finding is, it did get me to put my kinesiology online. So I've been a kinesiologist for half my life. It's coming up to actually a little bit more than half my life. So I turned 40 this year and started kinesiology just before I turned 18, where I was finishing the end of high school. So yeah, it's really had to get me to work more. As a kinesiologist, I also work more with the spiritual side of things and more like a coach, and more working on like balancing people to their goals and looking up what it is that's not in alignment with where they need to be right now, and helping to kind of like defrag the system and get them to kind of like bump up to that next level or that next step. But sometimes when I'm working with someone one-on-one in person, there will be, neurolymphatic points or massage that's involved, or acupuncture points that we're stimulating in order to be the medicine for that moment, to get them to let go of something energetically, or to kind of upgrade to that next frequency. So I'm really having to be more of a teacher role in terms of kinesiology, and in terms of showing them where these points are, and really getting them to, to work with me on it, rather than being a body on the table, and being able to kind of totally let go and relax, and really, having my clients sort of step up a lot more. And it's just, I guess, an evolving way to work. It's been really interesting in terms of like the readings. I just feel like I dropped my price a lot as well, because I wanted to be able to help a lot more people, knowing that everyone's at home at the moment and they're looking for answers, and they're really wanting to find out, what does this mean on a soul level? Because there is an inner transformation, and even, picking a card for what we're talking about today. And I picked a card to do with, the energies of everyone tuning in, and what it is that we need to focus on, and what is the purpose of this, chat that we're having. And I picked the Cosmic Egg, which is a divine feminine. It really is. So the words on the bottom of the card are, I hold the universe within me. I am a force of an ever-expanding love. So it really is coming back to that central place, coming back to our hearts, connecting back into, to Mother Earth, to Gaia, and really, finding that frequency again, and letting that cosmic unfoldment happen. And really just peeling back anything that's not within our vibration is sort of getting shaken out of our lives at the moment. So it really is like forming that picture and that new formula for what it is that we want to take through into the future. What is it that we're working to birth towards? And there's a lot of healing that's going on, and a lot of reconnecting with higher self. So really like listen to your soul at the moment. And there's like different rituals I feel like that our higher selves and our guides are giving us in terms of like letting go of the old, whether it's like working with baths, working with meditation, working with sage, working with like clearing up your space and allowing new energy to come in. I feel like this is really a time of that inner manifestation, and it's an exciting time to be alive. And there is a lot of clear up happening energetically outside why we are going through this inner transformation.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and the way things that are affecting us as individuals and the Earth itself. It's like we're coming back as a basically more connected to the planet. The planet is going through its own, I shouldn't say upheaval, its own cleanse. And its energies are sparkling a bit, and that's what I'm finding with humans too. We are sparkling, but there are those who are all over the place and are in need of guidance and have no idea they're in need of guidance. And you see them when you're out anti-socialing, and you go to a store, and there's those whose stress levels seem to be like through the roof, and others are just very detached. And I've talked to a lot of people who are empaths and sensitive people, and we've all described this COVID thing as looking at it from the outside. Where a lot of the people who are more stressed and having a hard time are like they're caught up. They're actually in the moving river as it's going, and we are on the shore, or I'm on the shore looking at it going by, saying it's going to be okay. It's like, come back. Just here's my hand. Come back here. No, everything's going crazy. Everything's going crazy. But it's those who are a little bit more sensitive are not. How can I say this? Don't appear to be connected to the greater problem. I'm not saying you're not going to get those people won't get sick. I'm just saying it's like you look at it from the outside, looking in at somebody else's problem. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I received the image and the vision of it's like being a lighthouse or being a beacon of light. And I find even just going down to my local shops and seeing people that I regularly see, if they're sort of like going through something, it's like I bump into them in conversation, and there's a shift that happens. And I feel like that's part of my role, and what I'm doing at the moment is just helping to like bring people back into realignment and really like reassure them that when they connect back into themselves, that it's all really actually going to be okay, and that they can sort of find their bearings. It's like energetically holding them while the ocean's kind of shaking, and just restabilizing that ship and reminding them that they do like go with the ebb and flow, and that things will eventually calm back down.
Oh yeah, it's all going to calm back down, and who knows, it may actually ramp back up after that, but we're all going to calm right down. It's going to be in waves. It is. I believe my gut feeling is this isn't the last one, and the next one's not going to be that far away.
That's my gut too.
Yeah,
and I see a lot of blue and gold around that, so it really is healing that's for our spiritual evolution in a way, to really come back to the truth of who we all individually are. And I really feel like it's also through like what we're receiving individually, it's all about reflection at the moment. So if we're tapping into fear, it's like we're going to spiral and sort of feel more of that fear energy. So really like holding peace within your core and holding love within your core is so much more important than ever at the moment.
Yeah, and you see people out there helping others a lot more. I did a little video that I posted, I think on Instagram or something, where as a policeman, I wanted to remind people, a retired policeman, remind people that there are people in domestic violence situations that used to have that 10-hour break when their partner left the house to go to work. Well, that partner hasn't been going to work, so that is a 24/7 powder keg. So if you're kind of if you had a couple of dollars left in your pocket to donate, pick your local women's shelter, and as well as your local food bank for those people who are basically the invisible people who you forget, the elderly, and sometimes those with special needs that rely on food banks to subsidize the food they get. And I got a lot of feedback, positive, where people were sending me little one-liners saying, yep, just donated to both in my neighborhood.
That's good.
Yeah, and it made my heart happy. And I think, I posted, it's not really about ego. I posted it because I had a thought. And then this all came in, and I thought, oh, so it was like a pebble dropped in a pond, and it rippled out. And even if only 3 people donated, at least 3 people donated. Well, 4, because I donated 2. So, we all made a difference on that day because we had the financial ability to do that. But it was like, I just wanted to point out that, we forget about these people. Yeah. And let's open that up. So, in our own hearts and our own day-to-day life, people still are reaching out to those around them that don't have the ability to do things. In a lockdown, in a COVID environment where, you check on the elderly neighbor, to phone them to see if they want any groceries. I'm going to the grocery store. Who else might want it that can't get out? Mm-hmm. So what we are doing as a result of the COVID, some of us are actually connecting more to people we haven't had contact. The elderly lady at the end of the block, you only see, maybe once in a while when they're walking their cat kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now you're paying a little more attention. Anytime you leave the house, you think, oh, what about the lady down the road?
Yeah.
You never thought about her that often, but now you do. And it's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It really is.
So we are opening up. We are also, again, COVID, because we're all been, well, not all of us, but a big chunk of the population has been slowed down. I won't say locked down, but slowed down. Look what's happened to the earth. And how we have huge migratory bird populations all of a sudden. It's like they're coming in back into areas they haven't been for 60 years. You've got, and the classic example is, the canals of Venice are clear and the dolphins have come back into them. Well, that's because they're not running motorboats up and down them as much as they used to. Yeah, the motorboats are still parked there and they're all leaking gas and oil, but it still it's not as bad as it was 6 months ago, where you couldn't see the bottom. It was just horrid water. It was just polluted. But now you can actually look back and say, well, maybe it was because of all those bloody boats. It's not just the people throwing crap out of their windows. It's the boats.
Yeah.
Maybe when we come back, we can talk about another way of regulating the amount of boat traffic or gas engines or diesel engines. That's a whole other mountain to climb for them. But as we come out of this bit by bit, we are now paying more attention not only to the lady at the end of the block, but we're paying more attention to the trees at the other end of the block.
Yeah.
We're seeing things. And that's a good thing.
To get back in touch with nature. And I think that's what's going to bring us back to, what humanity really is. And I know for myself and my kids that's the thing that we look forward to the most in the day is getting out, going for that hike, going and walking, near the river, being in nature. I feel like that's the medicine of the moment. And, you've got to do whatever it is to reconnect you back to your soul and back to the planet, and really start to feel your heartbeat as one with that planet, because we are here as guardians to look after that planet. And what you were saying with, checking in on people, I'm checking in on those that are, I guess, like a little bit more vulnerable, or ones that I know are not perhaps in the most ideal relationship or toxic relationships, just checking in that they're okay and offering help if they need it. But it really is about them also stepping up too and really, I guess, taking that step forward or taking that leap of faith, or really, coming up with the plan to get out of that situation. I've got one close friend who, has been selling things off and really starting to pack things away and make a little bit of a plan of escape. So use that time, if you are in that kind of a hard situation or a hard spot with someone who is more of an abusive type, use this time to really formulate your plan and sort of reach out and try and network with people that that can help you.
Yeah, and that is a big key. And this time, again, when I use that example of somebody being trapped 24/7 or with within the abusive relationship where they used to have that breather, where they could trick themselves into thinking, well, I'll be okay because he's not going to be home. Or in some cases, she's not going to be home for this amount of time, so I'll be able to survive another day. Well, now you get into that position where, no, you know what? I think my friends are right. Yeah. I can see how this is eating away at me. I cannot survive another day. I need an out. I need to leave. So it's one of the byproducts of what is been gifted to us, this COVID, to what it is that it is doing to us globally. It is changing the way some people think. And if 1,000 people in abusive relationships have a feeling that they should leave, but only one of them does, that one of them at least got out. Yeah. As a result of what's happened globally here, and that one is good. Like at least we got one of them out. Exactly. I'm not COVID. I'm at least one of them got clear and saved.
Yeah. And it makes a difference, because then, if there's anyone around that one person, and from my past experience, James, that I've been in that situation, where I was with someone who was in this field and, quite prominent with the ET side of things, and was an abusive partner. And I really was in that kind of like 24-hour situation where it was hard to get that space and to get that time. And, use whatever strength you can muster, and know that life can be so much better than what it is, and that you don't owe anyone anything. And just to know that there is light on the other side of the tunnel, that the chaos and the upheaval of life is short-term and temporary. And even an hour after that is ended and you're away from that kind of situation and circumstance, and then a day later, a week later, it just gets easier and easier, and you really start to gain control over your life again. You really start to get to the point where you can build a future for yourself. But if you are in that sort of situation, I really encourage you to start visualizing a new life outside of that, and what that would feel like, and to really start to plan an escape plan, as my friend calls hers.
Yeah, that's what, as a policeman, we used to call it the escape plan too.
Oh,
yeah. Yes. And you always wanted people to try to get a posse together. You got to get your friends. You got to get everybody all ready to go. It's got to be like a convoy shows up, boom, exactly. You're gone in three seconds, and nothing left there but a plate spinning on the floor.
Yeah,
she was right here. Yeah, it depends on. Yeah, it all depends on your situation too. And again, I'm almost flippant over this, but I do understand how serious this is, and I do understand that there is an economic a connector to this, that people just sometimes can't afford to leave. And that is a product of a lot of time in a narcissistic relationship, where the control has always been taken by the abusive partner, who then manages the purse strings, because that's another form of controlling, where they can't leave. So talk to somebody. There are people out there who will listen to that. Oh my gosh, we just went off on the other tangent, but which is good. So it was meant to be said, because somebody out there was supposed to hear it. And that's the way I kind of believe in it. And again, it's that 1 out of 1,000. If one person heard it that needed to hear it, then it worked. We are talking to Solreta Antaria. Her website is Solreta Psychic Readings. Again, that's Solreta, Solreta Psychic Readings. She's out of Melbourne, Australia. So if you're in the neighborhood, wear a mask. No, just go to the website, give her a call, and you can get readings done, obviously online, and over the phone, and over Skype and Zoom, and and maybe email and snail mail. I'm kidding. This COVID thing, I've been really ruminating over it in the last little while, and I said some things that were a little bit controversial the other day about those who passed as a result, and the many families that are grieving because loved ones have been taken away. And I'm really, and this of course is my own personal opinion, and you can dump on me all you want, but it was time for the earth to go through this. And the only way governments around the world would shut things down is if a lot of people died. So I look at the people who have lost their lives as a result of this as the soldiers who died fighting tyranny. Things had to change. The earth had to take a breather. People had to start looking again at their neighbors and around them. And the only way that was going to happen would be a shutdown. The only way the shutdown could happen is if a lot of people died. And don't think, I hate to say it, but I look at them as soldiers who died in a just war, because they died for something good to have occurred on a global scale. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I can resonate with that as well. And I think there's just so many different levels of what's going on with the whole situation. And I know that, there's a lot of conspiracy theory sides to it as well, which I can see some truth in some of those things as well. And there's a lot of nurses and doctors that are speaking out on what they feel it is and how they see it, at a microscopic level, and as a, is it a virus? Is it something else? But I also think that it's where a lot of people that are put into that basket of being a conspiracy theorist, where others that normally wouldn't be, are looking to those people for like a little bit of guidance, or they're like, oh, that's really weird. Like you were saying that, 10 years ago, or, I remember you talking about those kind of things. It's really a time of wake up and shake up to the people of the earth to really look at like what it is that they trust. So I'm seeing it, I guess, on more of a interpersonal or interpersonal transformational level is where I'm sort of seeing things and really coming back to a place of realizing that we're sovereign beings and that we need to like be an advocate for that and not let our rights be taken away, and to really find out what it is, like what our laws are and what rights we have. And there's a lot of unjust things happening at the moment as well. So I'm looking at it, I guess, from that kind of a lawful and political level of what's happening, and looking at it from in terms of, why is it that it's happened, and looking at it from a statistical point of view of, there's a lot more people that die of the normal flu. And I have had people, friends that have had people pass from COVID-19. So it is something that, people say, oh, do you know anyone that's had it happen? I see a lot of that going around on the internet. So I actually do know people, like friends of friends, that have passed. And I'm very close with someone that works in one of the main hospitals here in Melbourne, helping to kind of look after people in that. So, I do think that there is a physical sickness going on, but I also do think that there's a lot of EMF pollution and things happening too. And I also think that there's a lot of information that we've not been able to see 100% on. So everything's sort of like a little bit murky and unclear at the moment. And the thing that I'm seeing us to focus on is really just getting clear within ourselves, like not be distracted by all of the show that's going on outside of us. It really is a time to have that inner reflection and really like that inner time to build who we are and to really get into resonance of our soul mission and start to like vibrate in tune with that again, because I feel like we are so easily distracted that it just makes a difference to your life. It makes a difference to the people you connect with, what you're doing for work, what you're doing day to day. It really is a time to kind of like kick up that frequency a bit. And in doing that, we're also going to look after the planet a lot more. We're also going to have more meaningful relationships and more meaningful connections, and it will give our life a lot more meaning and a lot more purpose. And I think that's the sides of things that I'm seeing with a lot of my clients at the moment, is getting them back to their soul mission and the purpose of why they came here. And it's also looking at things of everyday question level too, whether it is relationships, whether it is health. It's really helping them to sort of like dig down deeper and really find out the reason and the meaning behind a lot of things that are going on in their personal lives.
Yeah. In your readings and in your communications and in your meditations, have you asked why or where this COVID has come from?
I guess being, having a background in natural medicine as well, my first thought when it came out was it just did not feel natural. That's sort of like what my body and what my being says. If there was some kind of like manipulation or there was some kind of way that this was leaked out, that's my feel on it. And there is a lot of people sort of pointing towards that that the virus couldn't have mutated so quickly in such a natural way. And there's other people speaking about how it manipulates the RNA and it's able to sort of like hook into our DNA. There's some interesting information out there. And I think I'm a really solution-based type person. So it's like, okay, well, whatever's happening out there, what can I do to like, mitigate the chance of anything happening to myself or my family. I don't want to be of the mind of, okay, well, this is possibly, imaginary, or there's nothing to fear. I feel like it's just about informing ourselves and just making sure that our immunity is high anyway, I think is a positive thing. So for us, we're taking chaga, a lot of vitamin C, some D3, just to kind of like protect that immunity. And I'm really working with my kids and educating them on how they can protect themselves on an immunity level. And what I mean by that is it's not just about physical immunity. It's immunity from like the fear porn that the news portrays. So it really is like learning your own vibrational currency and not letting that fear in. And I think, that's sort of like where I'm focused at the moment, is finding healthy solutions, but also, I guess, bringing comfort to my kids too, and letting them know that they are safe.
Yeah.
And really just talking about, what's going on to them. I think that's a big part of what I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, I still feel that like with clients, it's the most important thing coming up at the moment isn't the whole COVID thing. It's really, that's been an opportunity and a chance for them to look at the direction in life and look at like their relationships, especially because we're in Venus retrograde at the moment. So like relationships is definitely the biggest thing that I'm probably seeing come up, and change of life. There's a lot of people, wanting to move their place of residence or sell houses and things at the moment. I feel like people are really wanting to get into a new energy and a new way of being and a new way of doing things.
Yeah, and that's a lot of that is coming out too. Where I think the guy who runs Twitter came out today or yesterday saying that after this, he says you can work at home if you want, to his employees.
Wow, that's a massive step, isn't it?
Again, a byproduct of what's going on. It's a big here in Canada on our national broadcaster. That's one of the things they talk about quite a bit, is the number of people that, for 8 weeks they've been working from home, and the only thing they're missing is the social aspect of seeing other people at work.
Yeah.
They get their work done. They get their work done actually a little better than they did when they were at the office, throwing paper airplanes at people and stuff. But selling paper at Dunder Mifflin. But they found that they're getting more work done, and they're hanging out with their kids, and they're actually doing stuff around the house. When they want a break from work, they stand up and go do it. They don't have to worry about somebody with a stopwatch over their shoulder going. And as far as this is where you and I will have a discussion. The difference between seasonal flu and COVID, about almost 3.5% of reported COVID cases have died. Less than 1% of people with the flu die. So it's not exactly, the flu doesn't kill as many people. I shouldn't say that. It infected people of the flu. Less than 1% of them die if you're infected with the common flu or the seasonal flu. But COVID is 3.5% of infected cases. So yeah, it is worse, and it also spreads a little bit differently and quicker than flu. So yeah, it does have that. It does have that going for it. It's getting people. It's getting people not to worry. I had a psychic come on and we talked about it, and she said that her belief is that this COVID virus has been here for a long time, and it was just time in our history to have it switched on. And it wasn't switched on by a human, but it was switched on by human activity.
Yeah.
Humanity got to a certain point where the universe said, you know what, we're going to turn this thing on now. But we were talking about this kind of thing back in 2014 on an episode we used to call The Shift, where we talked about what was coming. And until we started, if we didn't get our collective butts together and start living with the earth and not off of the earth, stuff like this was going to happen. And we talked about like these kind of viruses, and we talked about earthquakes and a whole bunch of other crap, including politicians being brought into positions of power around the planet that would bring each of their countries almost to the tipping point of civil war. And, who knows? Well, that almost is resonating in a few of the countries on the planet right now. But we'll see. We'll see where we're going. It's, I think in the long run, what we're seeing is unfortunately necessary for us to have this global breather and change direction in where we're going. But we'll see 8 or 9 months after the doors open again exactly what kind of direction we're going in.
Yeah.
Because I know right now there's my friend is in Texas and they're saying, yeah, everything's open. We can, be going to the movie theaters in another couple of weeks or if not tomorrow. But, that's not going to happen here.
Yeah.
Every country's different. But, when your neighbor comes out of their house saying, no, we're out of lockdown. Let's everyone come on over for a barbecue. And the rest of the neighborhood's like, no. It's like, dude, you're not really helping helping us by you popping up. So one city or one state or one province, opening up and while the other ones are closed is kind of silly. I think somebody, when they were talking about Georgia in the United States, somebody quoted it was like saying, it's like having a peeing, what do they call it? It was an area of the swimming pool dedicated for people who pee in it. It's like, okay, you can go pee on that side, but don't pee on this side. Well, isn't it all the same? Yeah. Hilarious, I'll tell you. But still, again, it's we're all learning. We're all going through this, and doctors are learning. I know policemen that I worked with, they're working these weird shifts. They're working 4 days on and 12 days off.
Wow.
Because that 12-day period of being off, they can self-monitor. But they're on call. It depends on the size of your community, but they'll be on call somewhere in that 12-day period, but very few are being called in because there's not a lot, I shouldn't say there's not a lot going on out there. There's a lot of domestic violence, like we talked about, and a lot of people breaking into businesses that are shut down. Yeah. And so there's that going on. And so they are busy, but they're not as busy as you would be with all the stuff going on in malls and a lot of car thefts and things like that. That's not the big priorities right now, and they're prioritizing the calls. But man, oh man, it certainly is affecting everything. And again, because I'm a retired policeman, I kind of still have contact with those guys, and to listen to their stories, there's like, dude, I don't want to get out of the car and talk to somebody or go to where there's a crowd of people. We had from here, and there was 20 firemen showed up to put it out, and of course the crowds wanted to gather, and it was like, oh, we'd really like to get close because it's a fire, and we're looky-loos, and we'd like to see it, but we got to remain 6 feet away from each other, and which I think is a fallacy. I was very frustrated the other day on my motorcycle. I was 4 car lengths behind somebody who was vaping, and when they exhaled, that smoke came out like they were on fire. It came all through the cars in front of me, through me, and went by. And I'm thinking, yeah, so 6 feet away from somebody is really going to help me.
Exactly.
If you watch somebody vape, you know exactly how far breath goes when they exhale. That's the most perfect example of, oh my God, did that all come out of you?
And even my 11-year-old son, we went to do some grocery shopping yesterday, and we walked past where they're cutting hair. And he's like even questioning it and can see it's like, well, why is it like not okay for, the beauty salon that I worked in to, why is that shut down, but it's okay to cut someone's hair but not wax their eyebrows, which might take, 5 minutes. Why is that not okay? But, to sit and get your hair done sometimes, which can take up to 3 hours for women, why is that okay? And it's like, why does COVID not choose to be at, Walmart or, the major, supermarkets and grocery stores, but like it chooses to go to the small businesses. Like even he is seeing that there's something that we're not being told, and there really is, an ulterior motive financially.
Well, I think it's anywhere that sells food is an essential service.
Mm-hmm.
I was my tenant here, my roommate, wants to buy a bus. She wants to gut the whole thing and put a living quarters in it. So we went out yesterday morning to a location, and it's a company that sells vegetables, starter vegetables, and they sell them to Costco, this big box store. And I'd actually sell them in the U.S., and they sell flowers. but the starter flowers, and then you'd buy them and take them home and plant them in your garden. They have a large group of international workers, and one of the companies similar to them, one person in their company got COVID, tested positive, so they shut the entire company down. So what they've decided to do is that the community within this huge acreage, this huge farm and multiple hydroponic growing vegetable plant, they've locked it down and they have food delivered to them. And it's delivered in bulk, it's dropped off, it's left for a bit, and then the people come pick it up. So they never have to leave the property. All the food comes in. But it was funny because they actually let us on the property to go look at this bus. But we were way away from all their employees. But the big thing was they didn't want us anywhere near any of their employees. And we didn't have to wear masks or anything. But they said, yeah, it's like this is a lockdown within a lockdown. Because all of these people are foreign workers. And if they we'd be completely shut down. And what would happen to them? Like they have no income and they're not even from this country. So we have to keep them fed, watered, actually healthy, homeschooled now. They have the kids are all being schooled on television or through TV, but they really did a good job at doing it. But it's not like, they had to actually shut down. But because they grew vegetables, they had to stay open. The flower part of it was just, that's what we do off season, but or this time of year, but the veggies are what the big thing was. So what I see around here in my country anyway, the things that are open are food preparation. Like all the restaurants, you can phone ahead and go in and have it delivered or pick something up at the door. But the little corner store with the bread and the milk, they're still open.
Oh, okay.
And there are rules when you walk in, no more than 2 people, no more than 3 people in there, and they rotate them out, and their employees are all protected behind these plexiglass shields. And same with all the grocery stores. They're all open, but there are rules. They have a lineup outside, and you take your time, and there's only so many people allowed in there at a time, which is kind of cool. I really wish they do that all the time, but because it's a lot less busy in there, and you can always get to the till.
Yeah.
But, the other things, the things that aren't mandatory, basically the things that aren't going to or there for life and death kind of things, they're obviously going to close. If you're an art store or something like that, they're going to shut down. A friend of mine actually is an art dealer, and she had yesterday an open house. She's significantly, what's the word I'm looking for? She is significantly cut down in the amount of people a week that can come through her exhibition or exhibit, and she handpicks them online. She'll say, hey, I have a 2-hour block here. Would you like to come and look at my art? Yeah, okay. So I went down and I looked at her art. And then I had to leave before the next person was like 20 minutes later, and she cleans off things. And, I'm all scrubbed and polished when I walk in, and I look at the art and I look around. But that's what she's doing. She's not opening the doors for everybody. She's opening it to a significant group of people she knows has money and knows would be interested in art, and then invites them personally in. And I had a tea. So that was actually, I would rather go to an art gallery like that than to stand there shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of people trying to pick out what frame goes with what picture.
Yeah.
You're in your readings, Solreta, are you getting what best way of putting it would be a kind of a constant that runs through them now? And I mean, during the COVID time, are you getting kind of a constant message that's coming through to people, or is it all kind of like it used to be, all kind of higgledy-piggledy and all individual, or is there something constant?
No, there seems to be, I guess like when it first started, so going back a few weeks ago now, I was getting a major theme with a lot of men. It's like all of my clients all of a sudden was an influx of men. And for, it's usually females that more seek out readers and psychics and things like that. So there was a huge flux of men coming in, and it was all about like wanting to know about a partner coming in or a soulmate relationship. It was really about them stripping away anything that's been sort of superficial and wanting to get to that key, partnership. And whether that's a psychological thing from having a lot of time home by themselves and feeling that they, desire and want to have that partner, that could have been an instigator, or whether it's like a soul thing coming through, and they're really at a point transformationally where that's the right time for them and they feel like that they're at that crossroad. At the moment, there's a lot of my clients that are coming through to do with real estate and to do with life path and direction. So that's sort of been the theme of this week. And also with love, especially with Venus retrograde. It's been, some clients that are really at a fork road in relationships and really wanting to know, what to do individually, but what they can also do within a partnership level. So there seems to be two sides to the relationship happening. What I'm being shown is for clients to individually work on themselves, but also to put out that template for what they see as that ideal or that relationship that they're seeking. So there is a couple of things happening at the moment.
Okay. Do you think they're connected to what's going on globally, or I shouldn't say are they connected, because those are what people are coming in, those are the questions they're bringing. But what are the answers? And I don't want to get into anything specific, obviously, but is somebody coming in saying, I'd like to know I'm thinking about selling my house, and the answer that comes through is, you should leave your husband, or you should leave your wife, or you should get married, or you should marry the person. It's got nothing to do with the house. It's like, hey, while you're here, we've been trying to bang you over the head with this message for the last 6 years. Are you getting a specific constant? So an overall theme, like not category dependent on specifics of like relationship or work, things like that. There tends to be a lot of the guides are talking about a pause for the moment. So this really, on a soul level for all of us individually, is a time to go into a state of kind of birthing the new reality. Because after this ends and we are put back into the world, who is it that we want to be? On a soul level, do we want to live at a superficial level? Do we have, one saying we have here in Australia is like all of our ducks in a row. What is it we need to do to integrate and to become the person that we've always wanted to be? And that will then overflow and make a difference in every area of our life. So that tends to be a common theme that I'm seeing, no matter like what the category or question, that the guides are really getting us to upgrade at the moment. And that's also, upgrading on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. A lot of it is all about tuning into the internal guidance as well, really getting to work with your psychic skills. And that's something that I teach as well, is helping people to work out which is their strongest sense, how to work with it. So that's also another common theme. Well, that's really interesting. I failed to realize that you actually taught this to tune into those psychic skills.
Yeah, every now and then. It's usually, it is a workshop that I usually teach when I travel. So I've taught in the States a few times. And I've got one coming up on the 24th of May. So not this weekend, I think it's next weekend. And that will be on Spiritual Events Directory. So there's a workshop that I'll be teaching online through there. But yeah, I think, I am tending to go a little bit more online. I can reach a few more people that way, because a lot of my clients and people that follow my work do tend to be spread out all over the world. I have a lot of clients in Canada and in the States, but have beautiful clients in India and Italy and France and Bali and different places all over the earth.
I want to go to Bali.
Me too.
Let's do that. We'll meet you there Wednesday. Well, hold on, that's today, and you've already gone to Thursday. Oh, you missed it. We're talking to Solreta Antaria. Please go to Solreta Psychic. I almost said physics, because it's my dyslexia looking at the word. SolretaPsychicReadings.com. And again, she mentioned Spiritual Events Directory. It's a Facebook page, And they have these wonderful things going on at 4 o'clock in the morning if you're in New York, or 1 o'clock in the morning if you're on the west coast of Canada on Wednesdays, or west coast of everywhere in North America. It's on a Wednesday at 1 a.m. But it's 6 p.m. till 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Thursday nights. And for those of you who don't know how that works and you have a smartphone, click on your clock on your phone and go to World Clock, type in Solreta, Antaria. I'm kidding. I'm just sorry. I totally lost where you lived. Type Melbourne and she'll and you'll get an idea of what time it is where she is. Right now, I'm talking to her at 8:15 on a Tuesday night in Western Canada, and it's in the early afternoon of tomorrow in Melbourne. So again, Solreta is one of those women, if you live in North America and you think the world's going to come to an end on January 7th, well, you can give her a call on the 6th and she'll tell you whether or not it ended or not, because she does exist in the future. Solreta, tell me a little bit more about Venus in retrograde.
Yeah. So Venus is connected very much with love and with questions of the heart and with the divine feminine. So when it goes retrograde, what that means is not only can it put a pause to do with relationships and things, but it can also mean that things are pulled back. So we're pulled back into our own ideals and our own issues around relationships. So it is a time to clear out anything that isn't working or anything that's like of an old pattern or an old mindset. So it really is a time to not really get argumentative with partners, or to really kind of force upon your opinion, or really it's not really the time for sort of bringing up things or instigating chaos. So it is a time to try and maintain that peace and calmness, because it's a time that does kind of bring up little irritations, and even sometimes just one or two words said could spike into a bigger drama. So it really is about trying to support each other as much as you can through this sort of transitionary time. That's a little bit about Venus retrograde. Other ways that you can bring beautiful Venus energy, healthy, harmonious Venus energy in, are through connecting with on an alchemy level, connecting with plants or with gemstones that are created and work with Venus. So things like violet, rose, even meditating and connecting on the energy of the planet Venus is another way that you can really sort of tap into the harmony of Venus, because we do want to bring about that beauty and that goddess energy and that positive aspect of it as well. So really is just holding our breath for the moment and trying to kind of sail and navigate through this, and know that this time will pass too, that it's, I think I was joking to you off air before, James, about, it's a good time to go and hibernate in a cave and, just wake up when this is over. And that's kind of what it is on a 3D level. It is a time to kind of just fly under the radar for now. Take the time to work on yourself, to do things that you want to do for yourself. Not everything has to be done together or as part of a relationship.
Okay. Yeah, I've never really understood all the various retrogrades or what the effect they had on people. But this actually makes sense when you're talking about the relationship side of things, following your disclosure that a lot of the readings you've had in the last little while have been relationship and life change kind of based. So it kind of makes sense coming in.
And it's not the time to make rash decisions, because a lot of people will go, yeah, this is the time to end it. And I would say it would be if it was a toxic relationship and it was a matter of life or death, don't wait for this retrograde to pass. But for those that are sort of questioning things, wait a couple of weeks till it kind of calms down, see how you're feeling. It's we're in the peak of the moment. We're in kind of that adrenaline phase, and it's waiting for that fight or flight to calm down. and really getting back into like a logical and a heart point of view. But it's like your heart might feel an upheaval at the moment. So take note of what it is that you are feeling. But yeah, it's not a time to sort of make rash decisions. I always think of it as, I'm not sure if you guys call it like snakes and ladders or chutes and ladders, because I know it's different our side of the world compared to yours. But it's like, a board game where it's like you roll the dice and you land on it and you either like back down the chute or the ladder. It is that time where we are sort of like taken back to look at things, and we might when it kicks into play again and we sort of go more direct with Venus or like move forward with it in a more positive aspect, that's the time to sort of like then start to bring up questions and bring up what it is that we desire and to speak it.
Okay. It's snakes and ladders in Canada, chutes and ladders in the United States.
Yeah, snakes and ladders in Australia too.
It's a Commonwealth thing. Because snakes are too scary. It was funny you should say this, because I have a ton of close personal friends on Facebook. Which literally they're people who have asked, like they follow me on Facebook and they become friends and that's it. But every so often I'll get 100 new friends on there, and I've actually cut about 40 or 50 out because the dead accounts and things like that. But it's close to 5,000 people. I sent a little thing out the other day saying, hey, anybody interested? This is connect over to my podcast Facebook page, The Oracles of James Tyson. And this is what I got back. Stop bothering people with invites no one cares about linking or following your page. Goodbye. And this was actually from a friend.
Oh, wow.
And then she blocked me, and she's out of Norfolk, Virginia. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Like, nobody cares about linking or following your page. Well, why were you a quote unquote friend on my Facebook feed? Bizarre. But again, that is, I look at that and it kind of bothered me. And what bothers me is like, being the policeman, I say, why? I want to say, why? Okay, what did I do? I have never been to Norfolk, Virginia. I don't know who you are. And I obviously poked a button. And I think they just, my automatic reaction was, this person has a lot of stress somewhere else in their life. Yeah. And that popping up on their Facebook page, it just was one of many pieces of a puzzle that hit them. But I took it personal. I was like, I took it personal because because it's me and I can't fix it. That's what bugs me. I'd like to fix that. I'm sorry. Can I do something else? Can I send you a flower? Would you like to go for dinner? Like what is going on? What did I do that pissed you off? And because I can't fix it, it hung with me for a while. And I'm thinking, why is that hanging with me? I forgive people. It's forgiving somebody for something that I don't know. It's like if I hurt somebody's feelings and I know I hurt their feelings, and they crap on me, then I'm like, I'll take that. I understand it. But if I don't knowingly do something, if I step on your toe in line and apologize, don't shoot me. It's like, it was an accident. And so goes social media. But that was really odd. And again, like it goes back to this whole, the Venus and retrograde things. Do not make a rash decision. Do not, maybe in this person's life, they could have taken a deep breath because that pebble they dropped in the pond rippled out. Yeah. And of course, other friends of mine are going, who the hell is that? You can't fix stupid. It's like, okay, now we're criticizing this lady for I don't know who she is. And I think
it's a good reminder. I had something similar. I had someone I don't know who's not even, doesn't even follow my work. How I post dance videos because I do sort of like divine feminine belly dancing style dancing. And someone commented, oh, that's terrible. And I looked and I'm like, I don't even know this person. They're not even like connected or following or anything. What makes someone just put horrible comments on things? And I'm sort of like more of a sensitive soul like yourself. And I just had to look at it from like more of a remote viewing psychic side of things and just go, that's actually their issue. It's not even anything connected to me. And it is like you were saying, it's just them in the heat of the moment. Maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe that just makes them feel better about themselves. saying nasty things like that. And I just thought, I'm not even going to type anything back. I'm just going to delete it, because the old me would be like the same as you, like give a flower or, you know, try and instigate a positive conversation or, but I'm like, it's not worth my time. It's not worth my energy. They were just lashing out, and I don't actually need to be any part of the equation of that.
It took me a while to get back to where I always should be in my head. And I'm very much a forgiver. I preach a forgiveness meditation that really it was gifted to me. And it's really, really worked. And it's funny, it's like even last night I went, okay, just forgive her, move on. It's got nothing, let it flow. It's got nothing to do with you. It just stuck a little bit hard. In fact, I put a post up about it on Facebook, which I'm going to delete. It's because it's just a reminder. I don't need that as a reminder. I just put it out to see if anybody knew who this person was and had any interaction with them. But nobody. It was just one of 4,950 people that were my close personal Facebook friends. It is awkward. We do things that shouldn't we do things? But things happen in life that, and I've done it. I've said stupid things. I've done stupid things. At the time or the heat of the moment, I am right. There's no one righter than me. And then an hour or two later, it's like, oh, that was stupid. And boy, was I wrong. And it took, up until probably my mid-20s for me to realize that, you got to own that pretty quick, or else you can be dragging that around with you.
And that's part of why we're here. We're all here to learn. We're here to have the human experience. And I know that a lot of us, would like to think that that we are sort of like advancing, or, we are constantly working on ourselves, but we're still in human form. We're still here eating, we're still here, working and making a living. And I think we need to be more forgiving and thoughtful towards ourselves in that way. And just, if we make a mistake, it's about owning it. It's about apologizing and seeing if we can rectify that. But I think the other saying that comes to mind, like in terms of that lady kind of lashing out to you and the experience I had too, is like sometimes when you are holding that light, it does irritate a few demons. So, it's looking at it from a light-hearted perspective in order for our ego to let go of things, and just, it is what it is.
Yeah, and it's funny you said it. It is what it is. It's just one of those things. I watched a Jerry Seinfeld Netflix special where he gets into it is what it is. So those people who keep saying that, but it's anyway. She is somebody I spent energy on that I shouldn't, and I am somebody she spent energy on that she didn't have to. And I think it's just move on in that way, because that was the energy that I felt with my situation was, she's just trying to draw energy for me. Therefore, I'm not going to even respond, because I try and make everyone feel that they're heard, or, that I respond from like a heart approach. And I just thought, no, it's really, that's the ulterior motive with that, was to instigate feeding energy into something. And I can choose not to. Oh, yeah. It's our choice whether we or not going to engage. And again, as a supervisor of human assets in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, I had a lot of young guys and girls working for me, and to watch them interact with people sometimes was painful. I learned to be a policeman working by myself in 4 small towns in an Indian reserve, which was actually beautiful. You just ate from one end of the reserve to the other. It was great. But the small towns could be a little bit hectic. But if you're the only policeman for 45 minutes, you learn to do a lot of chatting. Yeah. And negotiation. And when I got to a bigger community of 200-some-thousand people, you had it back up within 2 minutes. So you didn't have to talk. If they didn't do what you said, eventually more police would come and you could all jump on the person and throw them in jail. So that was really awkward for me, because I would get to a scene and I'd be talking with somebody and all the other cars would come flying up and to back me up, and I'd just look at them and say, no, I'm good. In fact, the more policemen that show up, the more aggravated this guy's getting. Can you guys all go? Me and Bob here are going to have a moment and we'll take care of this. So it's just getting it done. So it is the energy of others that will really interfere with our path and our focus and our understanding and connecting with somebody who is going through a trauma or going through any kind of life upheaval. And those are the people you meet as a peace officer. You meet the people who are having relationship issues, work issues, drug and alcohol issues, anger management issues. And the more, in those cases, the more cooks surely spoil the broth. And if you can just connect to the person one-on-one, it's a lot easier for both of us.
That makes so much sense.
Well, say when you become a policeman, then you can do that too. No, you'd actually be kind of you'd actually be kind of spooky. You go to a scene, and, okay, well, you don't even have to say what happened here. You just have to shut your eyes and go, "Oh, I know what happened here."
That reminds me of that 80s movie Vibes with Cyndi Lauper and Jeff Goldblum. I'm not sure if you ever saw that. But he touches the table and he's got psychometry. He's like, oh my God, someone had sex on this table. And they're giving him like different knives the scientists are testing his ability. They're giving him different knives to say like what the knives were used for. It just reminds me of that movie.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Have you ever been around psychics, or do you know psychics that actually work for the police?
Not personally. I do know some friends that have friends that have worked for the police, and I think it would be very different work. I think, you would really have to be able to separate yourself from the energy of it. There would be so much that you would see, especially when it comes to working with, cases involving children. I think it would be, very, very hard going as a psyche working with that, because you do tend to see, hear and feel things as though it's happening to you personally, or you feel the energy of the person that you're trying to pick up a trace on.
I have friends of mine who do that. They work for, actually some work for families of missing children. And her biggest issue was the family will phone up and you say, well, do you know where our daughter is? And she'll say, yeah, I know where she is. Oh, thank God. Is she safe? Yeah, she's safe. Oh, good. Can you tell us where she is? We'll come pick her up. No, I won't. Because the reason she left home is Dad was abusing her.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not bringing her back to that situation. She's safe where she is now.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't ask a psychic to go do something where she's actually going to find out what the real story is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she says she does that a lot. She's actually sat in diners in LA with runaways and promised them, it's like, as long as you're okay, here's my number. If you need help, you're going to be fine. Here's various shelters. This is, people to contact. And I will not tell your parents where you are.
What an amazing job she's doing keeping those children safe.
Yeah. And of course, then there's some that she says, okay, Billy, your dad's going to come and get you because you're going to get yourself killed. But she also finds she has dead people coming to her and saying, hey, I'm in a field. Could you help me get a hold of my parents, kind of thing? And
wow.
So she does that, and helps police open up dead files, literally dead files. Incredible. And moves on. But it's an interesting gig, but again, it's something I wouldn't want to do. No. I've seen dead people.
Yeah.
I've been seeing the dead people, the ghosts and stuff, ever since I was a kid, but then I actually had to work around real dead people. And it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's a primal thing. The smell of a dead person is something that the person's dead when you walk in the room, and you've never smelled a dead person before. But your brain tells you, don't go in that room. And because and back in our primal monkey brain, I guess, or our primal brain, is if we smell that smell, that means another one of us has died around the corner.
Wow.
So it's probably dangerous around the corner. Don't go there. So you get that hesitation, like, oh, I know what that is. But you've never smelt a dead body before. Yeah, but I know what that is. That is something I'm not supposed to go near. So you don't go near it. But, we used to take, what Vicks Vapor Rub is?
Oh, yeah, we did that, yeah. Yeah,
you see, we'd stick that up our nose. And
wow.
So the smell goes away. Anyway, now we're talking about dead people. We've talked about, what are all the things we've talked about so far? We've talked about relationships and so Insight Timer app.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I've downloaded that, so I'm going to go bounce around all the different people that are on there, including you. And we talked about, I mentioned your Facebook spiritual events directory, which I'm going to go join, which is kind of cool, even though it's for Australians, but everybody can join. But just keep
there's
in
some
mind
other countries that have joined.
Yeah, well, keep in mind the time zones.
Yeah.
Please, everybody, keep in mind the time zones.
But it will be on replay as well. So you can
see, and that's,
after.
That's kind of cool. I like those. I wouldn't mind listening to replay.
I think there's a tab on the side of that page where you can actually go and click on my name and it will come up with past shows.
Oh.
I think so. That's what I've been told. I haven't checked.
And that's spiritual events directory.
Yeah, but I also post a lot on, I guess, on my own Facebook page and on Instagram as well.
Yes, your Instagram page.
Just under my name.
Yeah, Solreta, Antaria. Sorry, Solreta, Antaria.
Yeah.
Solreta, Antaria. And Solreta Psychic, I almost said physics again. SolretaPsychicReadings.com. Yeah, I'm going to go over to the Facebook thing now and hang out with you there and see, because you are one of the main psychics there, aren't you?
On Spiritual Events Directory. Yeah, so I think there's a few, but I'm one of the ones that mainly works clairvoyantly, but I also do the auras and cards. I'm a little bit different from, I guess, like the normal, typical psychic in the way that I work with a few different tools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karen Walden is one of, and 105 of my other friends, I wonder if they're still my friends, are members of that group. That's kind of cool. Sunday the 24th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time too. They've got another thing. And yeah, you're bouncing all over the place. Look at you. You're famous. I don't know why you'd talk to me. You're way too important to be talking to me. It's kind of cool. And there it is. Spiritual and Alternative Expo. You're part of that one too. Global Online Spiritual. That's Sunday, May 24th at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
So I think
Australia
around just before 2 p.m. So that should be a little bit later in Canadian time, I think.
A little bit Canadian time.
It's going to be, I'll be in the future, and it will be very, very early in the morning over there for you. It
certainly will. So we'll wait. We'll definitely listen to it in the rerun. So very cool. And again, that's the Spiritual Events Directory. You have a number of really cool things you're involved in. Thank you very much. That is more stuff for me to poke around in. And again, you're on Instagram, and you have your own Facebook page, so you're bouncing around. Now you are really busy with your readings right now, aren't you?
Yeah, so I still have a few spaces open and available, but if there is anything that doesn't match up time-wise, so for like example, sometimes the UK, our times don't always match up, so I will try and personally tailor a time where I'll get up a lot earlier, or do a reading a bit later into the night, just to try and accommodate for some of those time zones that my booking calendar won't list for.
And I want to really thank you for donating a reading to my subscribers for my Patreon, for my draw every month that I do for them, because that really, really helps. I know that we had how psychics every so often will go through the psychic timeout.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden your clairs aren't clairing properly. I've had
that when I've been pregnant.
A 2-month period of all of a sudden the psychics went, I can't see anything. And it's like, crap, we've got a list of people here you need to do readings for. So now I'm pulling 2 names. Instead of pulling 3 names a month, I'm pulling 6 names a month. So 2 get psychic readings, 2 get past life regressions, and 2 get an astrological chart. So I'm trying to catch up on the ones that we missed when our Skeeter wasn't skeetering. She wasn't doing the readings. But we have Marianne Morgan, who is from a TV series in the U.S. called Psychic Detectives. Again, she's one that worked with Natalie Holloway's family, where they hired her to go look for Natalie Holloway, the young girl who was murdered in Aruba and was never found. Natalie ended up showing up the day that she died at the foot of Marianne Morgan's bed, soaking wet.
Wow.
Saying, hey, my dad's going to call you. And
wow.
Marianne's going, I don't know who you are, but you're dripping. Yeah. So anyway, her dad, a couple of days later, her dad called her, and Marianne said, oh, yeah, I met your daughter. And unfortunately, she's passed, and you won't find her, but they flew her down to Aruba anyway to help the police. And she identified the murderer, but he didn't get charged. Anyway, she's one of our readers. Skeeter Wellhouse. Who else? We have Joanna Banca did a reading. One of the psychics here. Shelley Marie out of Northern California does angel cards and angel readings. She's done some past life regressions, or Skeeter. And a lady named Lori Wheeler out of the U.S. in New Mexico, brilliant. She also not only does past life regressions, she does between life regressions, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. And then the astrological charts are done by my friend Lorianne Lothian, who used to be in Vancouver, British Columbia, now lives in Montreal. So she is an astrologer and does beautiful work in charting. And now I can say that Solreta Antaria is also giving a reading for my lucky people who subscribe to the Oracles with James Tyson on Patreon. The big $3 a month gets your name in for the draw. And believe it or not, it's been going on for a few months now. So pretty well everybody's had them. Because I don't have 1 million people. If I had 1 million people, actually, if we ever get up to 2,222 people, we're giving away trips. So every month your name goes in for a trip. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, so if we get that many people signing up, then I get to go on trips and I get to take a listener with me. So if we end up going to Sedona to do the UFO tours and do some things out there, or go to a UFO conference, or go to the Queen Mary and do a paranormal investigation and lock the thing down, at least I'll have somebody to go with. And a fella's donated a filmmaker who did documentary that I was in about Bigfoot. He's actually going to come along and film the whole thing as a YouTube documentary for the person or people that I pull the names of. Yeah, they'll be hosting their own documentaries, which is kind of cool. So that, if anyone's wondering where all this money goes, all that money, it's where it goes. So I can travel and take people with me. So, because I want to do more traveling, and I want to take people with me who are interested in this kind of thing. So it should be fun. So again, thank you very much, Solreta.
Thank you for having me.
I am going to bring you back here next time. We're going to talk a little bit about your experiences with extraterrestrials.
Exciting. Can't wait. I look forward to it. And thank you for all the listeners tuning in today too.
Our pleasure. And it's kind of cute. I said, we're going to bring you back and you can talk about it. You said, oh, exciting. I can't wait. And I'm thinking, no, you're not going to be listening. You're going to be talking. And you already know how it turns out. So it's not a big surprise. But
that's true.
You're psychic. You know how everything turns out. You little dickens, you. All right, Solreta, you take care. Give the kids big hugs for me. And thanks again for coming up.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Watching you while you sleep all alone.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey. Let's be careful out there.